Hi, welcome to another episode of Journey With Me. Today we're going to be talking about the tremolo. Now there's two different kinds of tremolo. There's the modular effect, and then there's the component that goes on an electric guitar called the tremolo bridge. Now the tremolo bridge is designed so that whenever you push down on the bar, the guitar will pitch downward. So in other words, all your notes, all your chords will sound lower than they're supposed to. The tremolo also is known by another name, the whammy bar. Whammy! And there's different kinds. Today we're going to be focusing on the Floyd Rose tremolo. Now the reason why the Floyd Rose tremolo is so important to rock music and electric guitars in general is because the problem that was present with the original tremolo bridges is that after a while of using it, it puts the guitar out of tune. By pushing down on the bar, it lifts the tremolo plate and causes the strings to actually go a little bit limp. And that gives you the lower frequencies. Now, when you release the tremolo bar, what ends up happening is the strings have moved around. Sometimes they get stuck on the nut. Sometimes it's a simple fact that the windings on the tuning peg are acting more like a spring or a coil. Now, with the Floyd Rose, the strings are locked in two places. There's a locking nut, and then there's the Floyd Rose's saddles themselves. This is why another name for the Floyd Rose is a double locking tremolo. This actually helps solve the problem. Now, the Floyd Rose came about in 1976. Floyd Rose, who was actually a jeweler, somebody that made fine jewelry with his hands, he decided he was going to go and try to solve this problem. The very first users of the new Floyd Rose tremolo were Eddie Van Halen and Neil Schon. And they used it extensively, especially Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen dive bombs the whammy bar. This causes the strings to go all kinds of wacky out of tune. He had to retune his guitar in between songs. It's just a nightmare, especially for somebody like Eddie who's constantly hitting that thing. So the Floyd Rose was the answer to this problem. And it was a really interesting design because the early Floyd Roses looked like a science project. They looked like they had the base plate of the original tremolo, the kind that come on the Fender Stratocaster, like this one right here, with some nuts that lock everything in place on some bolts that are connected to saddles. It didn't look very good. And oddly enough, the saddles themselves had no notches cut into them so that the string could rest in it. So basically the string was just sitting on this bar of metal. And if you bend it too much, you could probably get it to actually slide right off of it. In 1979, Floyd Rose was awarded the patent for his tremolo design. Fernandez Electronics signed on to be the supplier of these tremolos. Fernandez is a guitar company in Japan, another guitar company with a Hispanic name that's in Japan, which is strange. And they mass produced it. After the initial design, Eddie Van Halen would come back to Floyd Rose and give him some ideas and suggestions on design improvements and upgrades. This included the fine tuners that are right behind the saddles on the Floyd Rose tremolo. And these make adjusting it without having to unlock the nut possible. He also recommended extending the base plate and giving it what kind of was known as a whale tail. This developed the Floyd Rose into the design that we know today. Now the good news is with a Floyd Rose tremolo, you don't have to sit there and adjust the strings to get the guitar back in tune like you conventionally would with the machine heads on your tuning pegs. Instead, you use the fine tuners, little thumb screw that's actually connected to the saddle from the base plate. This pushes down on the adjustment screw, causing the guitar to either go high or low in tuning. On a conventional tremolo, you basically guide the string through a hole that's on the tremolo base plate, guide it over the saddle, and tighten it down like you would normal strings. With a Floyd Rose, you have to actually cut the string once you have everything set up. One of the good things about using a Floyd Rose tremolo is that you can change the gauge of your strings without having to recut the nut. The nut on these locking tremolos is already sawtooth. So all you need to do is make adjustments to the spring claw on the back of the guitar once you've changed out strings, whether you've gone a lighter gauge and now you need to raise the tremolo up, or you went with a much heavier gauge and now you need to lower it down. The downside with the Floyd Rose is that if you break a string, the whole guitar goes out of tune. And you actually have to, at that point, unlock the nut so this way you can readjust everything. This isn't efficient for live playing. This is something that if it happens, you need to be in a place where you can change this stuff out quickly and easily, or unless you have more than one guitar. The different types of tremolos, there's so many of them out there. There's the Bigsby, there's the kind that you find on the Fender Jazzmasters. Gibson has one that you find on the SG, which is very bizarre looking. But in general, the two most common tremolos I think you will see out there are the ones that are found on the Fender Stratocaster and the ones you find on like heavy metal guitars or guitars that look like they're used for shredding. Another thing about Floyd Roses that is a little different from the conventional tremolo is that a lot of guitars that feature the Floyd Rose will actually have the body recessed where the base plate is. This allows you to actually pull the whammy bar up and pitch the strings at a higher note. Conventional tremolos, the only way they do this is if you've added heavier strings and you haven't made your adjustments. So in a way, you get all kinds of crazy sounds. And you can actually hear this with Eddie Van Halen during the first couple of years that he's actually using a Floyd Rose. Now, of course, with everything, there's different versions of the Floyd Rose itself. Usually the conventional ones you'll find are separated into Floyd Rose Special, the Floyd Rose 1000, and then you have the Floyd Rose Original. Those are the three most common iterations of the Floyd Rose tremolo. Now, the differences come with materials, location of where they're made, and the price, with the Floyd Rose Special being the most inexpensive of the tremolo series. Floyd Rose Specials are usually found on beginners guitars. I did a review on a Jackson JS34Q that actually has a Floyd Rose Special on it. The only thing is it says licensed by Floyd Rose. They get the job done, but there is a difference and you can definitely feel it. The Floyd Rose 1000s, I have two guitars that have those on them. And with those, the quality is slightly better. They're made in a different location. But when you jump to the Floyd Rose original, which I have on my ESPs, things change dramatically. You can definitely feel the difference in materials and quality. And that's a big plus, but there's also a difference in the price tag as well. I hope that you guys get a chance to check out Floyd Rose's tremolos. They're a lot of fun to have on the guitar. They're not as temperamental as a common or regular tremolo, but they do have issues. Like everything, there's always going to be pros and cons. You know, the pros is everything locks in place, and when you go and you start doing dive bombs, the guitar is more likely to actually stay in tune. Now, the cons, of course, as I mentioned before, when there's a string breakage, the whole guitar goes out of tune. And also setting them up once you've got your strings on them, it can be a pain. But it's well worth it, and it's a lot of fun to have. And I suggest you check it out. In the meantime, I hope you stay tuned. We're going to be working on our next video relatively soon. Thanks for joining us.